It's 6 minutes past 9 this morning. Time for us to get into our Deal or No Deal Arsenal special.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the Arsenal special. It is one club, it is one transfer saga that is going to rumble on and on and on. But while it's still exciting, let's talk about this thing. Wilfried Zaha to Arsenal. Arsenal offering £40 million. Unfortunately, from an Arsenal perspective, Crystal Palace value him at £100 million.
120 is the figure that the Sun had this morning.
Crystal Palace also happened to be flush with money after selling Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 50 million quid to Manchester United. In terms of his current contract, he signed a 5-year contract worth £130,000 a week only last summer.
Ooh,
so
he can look at he can hang on and wait to go to a club that's going to pay him 3 times that.
Arsenal might.
No,
sorry, 3 times that. No, obviously not. Wilfried Zaha is not going to get £390,000 a week.
Okay,
so he's not going to get 3 times that.
360.
Really?
Well, go back to Man United. I'd take 360 grand for Man United if I'm Wilfried Zaha.
Will Manchester United take him back?
Yeah, they'd be delighted to have him.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about this at all. Middle of last season, if you asked me, maybe after the first couple of months of the season, would you take Wilfried Zaha at Arsenal Football Club? I would snap your hand off. I would say 100% yes. Brilliant signing, brilliant move. Now I'm not sure. Now, just maybe it's the passing of time. Maybe it's the sort of idea that you brought up earlier in the show that there are just as good options on the continent, certainly cheaper options on the continent, which is really, really important for Arsenal. Like, this could all be a ploy to get more money from Crystal Palace. Like, he's been unsettled in the past. He signed 2 5-year deals in each of the last 2 summers. 5-year deals, of course. Deals mean nothing anymore. Now, part of this is also requiring Arsenal to pay a fee to Manchester United. It's only a proportion of the fee, but it could be around £15 million. So this is part of a sell-on clause. Zaha could, though, hand in a transfer request, and that would waive all his rights to loyalty payments and things like that. So there are the sort of different elements that we're dealing with here. The other elements that we've mentioned are Zaha's brothers, who are clearly involved on a very intimate level with Zaha's dealings and in terms of where he's going to go. So his brother Hervé has played a role as a consultant for the agency that actually smoothed Aaron Wan-Bissaka's move to Manchester United. And then one of his other brothers, he went public on Monday pleading with Palace to lower their valuation and reach an agreement with Arsenal to sell them. And he went to the Daily Mail and said, Palace said if an opportunity like this presented itself, they would not stand in his way. We hope they still feel that way and they come to an agreement with Arsenal quickly. So this is the situation that we're in. His brothers want him to go. He may want to stay. He definitely wants more money. He feels that he'd be valued at more than 130 grand a week. The problem here is that Crystal Palace also want more money and they don't need the money at this point. Now, how much can Arsenal actually stump up? Well, Kieran Maguire, Price of Football, on Twitter yesterday said that Arsenal owe already over £100 million in respective instalments on other transfers at the moment. They're not exactly flush with cash. They put their transfer dealings, their transfer budget this year, something like £45 million. They don't have the money to go much higher. As I've mentioned as well, the Swiss Ramble thread on Twitter yesterday, it's worth digging out. It's an amazing read in terms of what Arsenal have been doing in terms of their finances over the past 17 years. They've been operating off a profit since 2002, Arsenal. We know this. They are set to make a loss for the first time since then at this point, Arsenal. The recent years, though, have been padded by player sales. So that 2002 figure, the reason that they've been in profit since 2002 has been due to a number of reasons. Success, being in the Champions League consistently. Last couple of years, not in profit anymore, really, if you take away player sales. So really, if you look at some of the previous quotes, like 2009, after Gazidis had boasted that Arsenal should be able to compete at a level like any club such as Bayern Munich, 2009, they were only £23 million behind Bayern Munich in terms of their profits. This is now £168 million as recently as 2018. So the gap is growing here, and Arsenal having this notion that they're able to, or Arsenal fans having this notion that they're able to go and spend £60 million on Wilfried Zaha is patently untrue. Like 2012, you look at that, they had almost as much cash as the rest of the Premier League combined. So the rest of the Premier League combined is £181 million. Arsenal had £154 million. 2018, the new Premier League TV deals come in. Arsenal now have £231 million. The rest of the Premier League has £686 million. So almost threefold. All these figures kind of add up. The big six is moving away from Arsenal. It's almost like a big five and one at this point. Tottenham have closed the gap drastically in the space of a few years. The club has been run terribly. And one of the people you can point a finger at has been Ivan Gazidis, who, casually left the club last year.
Well, casually got a new job. These things happen.
It's more and more looking like he left a sinking ship that he knew that was sinking and that he was responsible for sinking. What's the first thing you do when you're responsible for sinking the ship? Maybe get everybody else off and save everybody else's life.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal isn't a sinking ship. It's just
I've got grave fears for Arsenal in terms of.
It's just that their owners aren't putting any money in. That's the choice. It's like the club is relatively well run. It is financially viable. It's got a good stadium in a massive market. This is an Arsenal fan who's obviously very disappointed with how the finances have been run and the opportunity that was blown, and I understand that. But at the same time, if Stan Kroenke decided to pump a little bit of money in, Arsenal could easily afford to buy anybody they want in world football because he's rich, and the basis for them to do so would be that the club would be on a sound financial footing, if not. So it's not profitable because they lost 50 million quid or whatever it is from the Champions League. But so buy the players, get them back into the Champions League. Come on, Stan. Get the finger out.
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg situation here. And
blaming Gazidis, who actually did an okay job over the years, is, I think, again, missing the point. It's Stan Kroenke is the problem.
I don't think because Stan Kroenke is a problem that absolves even Gazidis of.
Sorry, you're right. There's plenty of blame to go around.
Well, I was just listening to your conversation about Wilfried Zaha. David Seaman actually has come out and said, why are they going after Wilfried Zaha at Arsenal? They need players in different positions. I actually agree with him.
Yeah, that is a fair point.
They need defenders. They can't defend.
Do they need a philosophy change in defending?
I see they've relegated Steve Bowles to a different position within the club, so did they get in somebody new? Because of course, whenever Arsenal keep a clean sheet, it's like the Steve Bowles philosophy is working.
Steve Bowles effect. And then if they get hammered, Steve Bowles obviously doesn't have any say in that dressing room.
Yeah.
Well, Freddie Ljungberg is in there now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
And, Steve Bowles. So maybe they are going for a more attacking coach with Ljungberg. But yeah, they don't have a set formation. He looks at different teams and he changes it up. There was times Mustafi was playing as a right fullback, an orthodox back four. I suppose it's quite easy to compare Arsenal to Liverpool of when Klopp took over, where they wanted to get back into the Champions League. They actually got to a Europa League final in his first season.
And lost it, and everybody was like, oh, this guy can't win finals.
Yeah, and actually, I think that was a good thing. Well, I suppose they would have got back, they would have got into the Champions League, but they didn't have the squad. Whereas the following season, Klopp was able to play a style where Liverpool could put the foot on the gas and they had more recovery time. They didn't have European football.
Who did they sign after they lost the Europa League final?
They would have had the likes of... they would have signed Gini Wijnaldum.
Wijnaldum window.
Salah?
Yeah. Salah would have been the year after.
The year after that.
Okay.
Mane.
So you're adding Gini Wijnaldum, you're adding Sadio Mane to that team after the Europa League final. They're good additions. Arsenal's additions this year.
But Sadio Mane hadn't reached the full price inflation just yet. I mean, it was the start of that price. It was still 35 million, was he?
Yeah, well, he was initially linked with United, and people thought, what are they doing? And then Liverpool signed them, and again, the joke about, they're going back to Southampton.
Yeah.
And it was thought, he's a decent player.
Yeah.
But even his debut against Arsenal, his league debut, you got the glimpse of how good Mane was going to be.
Villa fans knew all about him from that 8-minute hat-trick or however long it was.
I was about to say, he had showed them glimpses of absolute excellence in the Premier League before that, and I think it's actually a perfect case study comparing where Mane was back then to where Zaha is now. In fact, I think Mane back then is a better signing than Wilfried Zaha is now. I think
for half the price.
I really don't think that, if Arsenal managed to get fooled into paying £70 million for Wilfried Zaha, it will be a really bad piece of business.
Yeah, well, the deficiencies in the Arsenal team last season wasn't lack of goals, wasn't a lack of creating chances. It was trying to keep clean sheets. Midfield as well. If Torreira goes, which he looked like a really good prospect, the second half of the season wasn't great for him. Obviously, he likes Gazidis. He's going to go to AC Milan by the looks of it.
Arsenal's only hope is if a Chinese club gets a notion and decides that Mesut Ozil and Shkodran Mustafi are really good footballers and they deserve to be paid handsomely, even more than they're getting paid at Arsenal, because they can offload that deadwood and they can offload the wages. Most importantly, the wages. That is the thing that...
I wonder, will Dali and Fang... Dele and Yafang, Rafa Benitez's new club. Maybe they'll come in from Mesut Ozil.
Definitely the sort of player that Rafa Benitez would love to manage, Mesut Ozil. It's a weight around the neck at this point. It is like Alexis Sanchez. You could almost put together a list of who is the most annoying player to have at the club right now in terms of what the club can't do. Alexis Sanchez is one of them. Mesut Ozil is another one of them. I'm sure there's Gareth Bale is another one. There's tons of these players all around the world. You can make a dream team of players that are really heavy deadwood.
The Fall Guy 11.
They're not fall guys. They're overrated.
Sturridge would have been at Liverpool until there was just that 2 games where he did enough. Everybody go, that's okay, fair enough.
That goal against Chelsea. That'll buy you some time, yeah. But yeah, it's there's a serious worry about Arsenal, like that. Even the likes of Wolves and Everton could close the gap.
That's my point. The trap door is no longer top 4 down to 5 and 6. A new trap door has developed, Arsenal. It's right below you. You could drop out of the top 6.
Mesut Ozil's contract runs out on the 30th of June 2021. So you've this season
We're
and
bollocks.
the following season
We're absolutely bollocks.
of paying Mesut Ozil a lot of money to do not very much.
In fairness, you come up with a great assist against Leicester or Burnley at the Emirates, but he won't play in the other games because he tends to get ill a lot.